Hello, hello to all the parents of the next generation. It's Megan Barella here, your positive parenting and happy home guide. Today we are talking about how we bridge the subconscious mind in parenting with happy home coaching. Some statistics say that the subconscious mind is responsible for up to 95% of our behavior. So I'm really looking forward to diving into this talk today. If you're catching the replay, do me a favor and say hello. I'd love to say hello back to you, drop an emoji, let me know how you're feeling. This training today is for you. If you consider yourself a conscious parent, or you value consciousness in parenting, and yet you're having a human parenting experience, you might be struggling with emotional dysregulation, or power struggles, or figuring out screen time, getting your kids through daily routines, maybe some control issues with your teens. So in Happy Home Coaching, we hold the both and. We hold your values in consciousness and mutual respect and unconditional love and parenting, and we hold that simultaneously with the real life challenges that you're facing. And what I always remind parents, right? Stress is the problem, not you and your children. So before we dive into the content today, I do want to share that a lot of the parents that I support are childhood maltreatment survivors like myself, and you might have PTSD and CBTSD, and I just want you to know that what I share today is designed with you in mind, but I do want you to go in with the conscious awareness of, yes, I would like to dive into this content on bridging our subconscious mind, because not every day do we have the bandwidth to work on certain things or the capacity. And we have so much information coming out and at us in social media. It's important to really get that consent from ourselves. Like, this is what I want to be focusing on right now, or I have a boundary around that and I'm going to say no thank you and keep going, okay? So I really want you to make that, give yourself that consent to move forward with this topic today. Okay, so where are we at collectively in parenting is that there is so much information out there. I see all the time, nervous system support and emotional dysregulation and co-regulation, and all the concepts, right? All the concepts are actually creating stress on our logical mind when we don't have the support for our subconscious mind. And so we're going to start off today just how I define the logical mind, the subconscious mind, and then working with higher consciousness, or our super consciousness, as Yogananda called it, if you follow any of his work. And what I want to be clear is that this is the way that I approach these topics, and I bridge the subconscious mind in parenting for families I'm working with and Happy Home Coaching. But there is no end all and be all. Just because of the way that I hold something, the way that I define it, there could be someone else who works with it or defines these concepts in a different way. And so take everything I'm saying, what speaks to you, take it and grow with it. And if it doesn't speak to you, then just know that there's someone else that could support you in a different way in these areas, okay? So the way that I've developed these concepts and approaches that I'm going to share with you today is from my professional experience and trainings. And in grad school, when I was working on my master's, I focused if I weren't pregnant at the time going through grad school, I definitely would have gotten a certificate in interpersonal neurobiology. And that's the body of work developed by Dan Siegel and others. And unfortunately, we don't have the interpersonal neurobiology certificate program for grad students at PSU anymore, unfortunately. So because I was pregnant at the time and I just needed to finish, because it actually took 10 years to finish my master's degree anyway, I just took as many classes as I could in that department, okay? Then, most of my work in this topic has been through my lived experiences, parenting as a trauma survivor, and then supporting thousands of parents, educators, and caregivers with my community-based programs, and then supporting hundreds of parents and happy home coaching, okay? But again, this is the way that I view these topics, and you're gonna use your own discernment for what speaks to you, okay? So let's start off with defining the logical mind. The logical mind is also linear and linguistic. I think of the logical mind as our everyday self, going through the tasks of daily life and just dealing with life. I think of our logical mind as like our admin assistant. It's like, okay, we're going to go ahead and do this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to be directive and get this done, and kind of the way that we move through our daily life in a way that's logical, linear, and linguistic, okay? But the other part of the logical mind is our critical thinking and our problem-solving skills, and also our ability to work with and to regulate our emotions. And so these mental tasks of the logical mind, the way that I view them is that the way I orientate my mind and try and help you orientate your mind is towards solutions. I think that's the greatest way that we can use our logical mind, to be problem solvers and to focus on solutions. And that's such a strength and an asset to parenting. And it's what this generation of kids, it's what they're primed for. Kids today are not responding to consequences and rewards. They are primed to respond to solutions. So I help all of us get our logical brain, that taskmaster, the admin assistant of our brain, directed towards solutions, okay? And so with the subconscious mind, the way that I think of the subconscious mind is a little different than the way I've heard other people talk about it. I think of the subconscious mind as my earthly truth and reality. And why do I think of it that way? Because the subconscious mind, right, is connected to our emotions, our memories, and our body, right? Our somatic physical experiences. But our subconscious mind is formed from the way that our emotions, our memories, our body, physical, somatic experiences interplay with our lived experiences. The subconscious mind does not develop in a vacuum. It develops in response to our lived experiences, our relationships, and our subconscious mind. What we know about it is that up until age 7, right, most of our subconscious mind is developing through our experiences with our early caregivers and with our parents, okay? So, and this can include both optimal and suboptimal life and childhood experiences that we've had. So, if you think of our body and our feelings or our emotions, they're there to help us make sense of what we've experienced, because part of the human brain is that we are wired to survive. So whatever we've experienced in life, our bodies and our emotions are there to respond to what has happened to us so we can survive. So part of our subconscious mind, that's why I really feel it's like my earthly truth, right? Of how my body, my emotions have responded to life experiences in order to keep me alive. And from that place, the subconscious mind has such wisdom. The subconscious mind is our wiring to stay alive here on earth and how we can do that. Now, the challenges in supporting our subconscious mind is because our subconscious mind is wired for that primal survival, but not necessarily our thriving. So with the subconscious mind, what's happening is a lot more people are familiar with like flipped lid or the brain in the palm of our hand. And if not, you can Google brain in the palm of your hand, Dan Siegel, and a 2-minute video will come up that's explaining this. But when talking about the parts of our brain, there's the part of our brain called the brainstem. It's in the back of our brain, and it controls things that are designed to keep us alive, that are on autopilot, that we don't have to think about, right? We don't have to think about breathing. We don't have to think about our heart rate. And as a part of that survival brain in the brainstem is the way that we respond to stress, right? And that's we have very limited options, right, when we're responding to stress. And that's some combination of fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, okay? So what I'm doing in Happy Home Coaching, and this is where it gets complicated, and I'm trying to pull back like the curtain behind what I'm doing with my clients during this time. And this work on supporting our subconscious mind and the way that we're responding to life in order to keep us alive, there is such wisdom there in the scrappiness of our reality and in our survival. And there might be a disconnect between the subconscious mind's keeping us alive and our thriving. So what I'm doing in Happy Home Coaching is I'm bridging that subconscious mind, okay? And the way that we really tap into that is through our higher consciousness or our super consciousness, okay? And each of us connects with higher consciousness in our own unique ways. And I'm never here to tell you how to connect with higher consciousness, but really to support you in your unique connection in higher consciousness. And some of us have a spiritual or religious practice or pathway that we connect with higher consciousness. For some, so a lot of my clients, they connect with higher consciousness in nature. And then for some of us, from a scientific perspective, we might connect with what's called the social brain. And the social brain is the brain science that proves that our brains do not exist in isolation, that our brains are actually a social organ. And that's why it's called the social brain. And that is the brain of our human family. Okay? So for however you connect with higher consciousness, that is the seat of highest good, universal truth. It can be your relationship to God, spirit, source, creator. It might be your connection to nature. However you find that higher consciousness. In Happy Home Coaching, my number one goal is to connect with that universal truth. That universal truth that is beyond good and bad, and that is rooted in all of our inherent and universal goodness. That it's our higher conscious is rooted in unconditional love and acceptance, in empathy and empowerment, And another way to say that is what positive discipline says is, the basic needs of all driving all human behavior is belonging and significance. And that could be belonging is through that connection, through that positive relationship. And significance is through our empowerment, through how we're contributing to life itself, to our communities, okay? So now we've got the logical mind, right? Like the admin assistant of our lives that we want to orientate towards solution, because that's what this generation is wired for, is for solutions and for problem solving. We've got the subconscious mind, which, I look at as like our earthly reality, our bodies and our emotions and how they've responded to life to keep us alive, to make sure that we're surviving. And then we've got the umbrella of higher consciousness, of that universal truth, of our inherent and universal goodness, of unconditional love and acceptance, of empathy and empowerment. And what we're doing in Happy Home Coaching is we're creating that as your foundation and your umbrella, okay? And so what does that specifically look like? If we know that the subconscious mind is driving 95% of our behavior, then we want to honor that subconscious mind as our wisdom, as the wisdom of our emotions and our somatic wisdom, the wisdom that we hold in our bodies, okay? And there's different ways, it's unique for each person, but really what we want to, so let's get some real life examples. Why do parents find me in Happy Home Coaching, right? They find me, one, emotional dysregulation is one of the number one reasons, especially when there's anger and aggression. Children are hurting siblings, hurting the parenting, trying to hurt the parents, property destruction, or even some self-harm, okay? That's the number one reason that parents find me. I would say probably a second reason parents find me is control issues and feeling out of control with our teens, and then also power struggles or defiance and disrespect. Those are the three things that parents find me for, okay? And in traditional parenting education, we would get tools, right? Traditional parenting education is going to reach the logical mind, right? And it's going to say, here's the tools that I'll use, go ahead and use them. But if we know that what's going on when we're stressed out by our children's behavior is that what's being activated, right, is that subconscious mind and how we've been wired to survive with some form of the ways that we've responded to stress, which is some form of fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Either we're yellers, right? We get angry back. We want to withdraw from the conflict and go in the bathroom and hide and scroll on our phones, or we freeze up in the conflict and we're faced with overwhelm, right? If we know that in the subconscious mind that is governing 95% of our behavior, when we are stressed out by our kids' behavior, we're going to have some access to only our stress brain, right? In those moments of acute stress. Or that stress brain, right? The way we respond to stress in the subconscious mind is going to still be impacting when we're trying to bring in those logical tools, okay? So what I do with parents is first and foremost, we have to have compassion for the way that you're currently responding to your children's behavior. Because you're trying to just survive and get through that situation. And we want to honor the way that you're responding to stress as your body and your emotions' wisdom. Okay? When we can honor the ways that you respond to stress, the subconscious mind, the way your body and your emotions are responding to stress as wisdom, then we can take that natural tendency, right, that might not be in a healthy form. And by connecting, right, with that higher consciousness, that universal truth, we can, one, have compassion, like look at the way that you're responding to the situation in order to try and literally survive. We can peel it back, and we're honoring the way you're currently responding, but we're peeling it back and going to the core value. Why are you responding that way? What are the core values that you have? And we can see that maybe trying to control your teen is you're actually scared for your teen and you care about your teen. I'll tell you, even when we're responding like suboptimally to our children, 9 times out of 10, it's peeled back to that we actually care so much. We care so much about our kids. And that's not to enable negative behavior, but it's to meet us at the subconscious mind. Because whether we're having compassion, we're honoring the wisdom, we're taking it back to the core value, the subconscious mind that's driving 95% of our behavior, it needs to be heard and affirmed in a positive way. It needs to be held and kind of nurtured or soothed like we would a little baby, like the baby within us, right? That's our subconscious mind that developed in the first 7 years of life that's just trying to keep us alive. We need to honor that resiliency, right? And when we can really hold that subconscious mind and we can affirm it, then we're doing that from the perspective of our higher consciousness. And then because the subconscious mind is now affirmed, supported, seen, supported, now we can come in with what's the ultimate truth. What's the ultimate truth? What's the highest good? What's the universal good in this situation? And we bring that in. And the subconscious mind is going to speak to that. Remember, the logical mind can't just say, oh, just do this, or you're wrong for doing this. But our higher consciousness has this ability to soothe the subconscious mind, okay? And when the subconscious mind feels heard and seen and affirmed and soothed, right? When the highest truth can be peeled back, then we can get the logical mind. We can get then it's like, okay, admin assistant, taskmaster of our logical mind, get back on board. We're ready for you. We've got the solution. And then we roll out the positive parenting plan from there. Okay, so here's what's happening at bedtime. Here's what's happening after school. Here's what's happening when the kids fight. Here's what's happening when your teen is disrespectful or when you go into micromanaging your teen. Here's what's happening when you respond with anger to your children's anger. And here's the specific plan. But the specific plan that the logical mind is going to execute is being held and affirmed by our higher consciousness. And our higher consciousness is like really speaking to our subconscious mind, right? Of how resilient we are, of our scrappiness, right? Of our concern, our caring, of really having compassion for the ways that we're showing up in order to survive. And when we can hold the subconscious mind, right? By our higher consciousness, by our connection to source, to nature, to the social brain, whatever it may be for you, then we can direct the logical mind. And that's what we're doing in Happy Home Coaching. So if you're still with me and you're connecting with this, let me know. And what I would like to say is, if you are working on parenting and you're like, I'm overwhelmed by all the information. I don't know what's going to work for me and my family. all the parenting, like the conscious parenting, the gentle parenting, it's actually stressing me out. I'm shaming myself more. I have no idea how to implement this in my family. And in fact, when I'm stressed, I still fall back on threats, on bribing, on trying to reward or give my kids a consciousness. I still fall back on those, like what we call the fear-based discipline practices that most of us were raised or educated with. If you're identifying with all of that, just know that you're not alone. And also, not only do we have all this information coming at us that is literally just that, more information that's putting more stress on our logical mind. Plus, your logical mind is already stressed out and going offline a lot of the time by your real life stress levels. Please know you're not alone. And this is the face of parenting today, and that Happy Home Coaching is designed for you, right? So we can hold your consciousness. We can hold highest good and universal truth and that inherent goodness in you and your children and that unconditional love and acceptance that actually sustains humanity. We can hold that as the foundation and the umbrella of your life, which is going to soothe your subconscious mind. And then we're like, hey, taskmaster, admin assistant of our logical brain, let's go, we're ready for you. Here's the plan. And that's why, my clients will often say that I'm a miracle worker, I'm a lifeline, I'm the saving grace for their family, because it's not me, it's the work that we can do together that is practical plans that are rooted in soothing and nurturing and affirming your subconscious mind, the inner child within you, and that are held in the higher consciousness of our human family. Okay, so if you connect with that and you're speaking to that, then reach out to me. Let's go ahead and schedule a complimentary consult to talk more about Happy Home Coaching for your family and how I could work with your family and what your goals are, what your needs are. And if you're watching this as a returning client and you'd like a little refresher, then go ahead and reach out to me and let's schedule, let's get you synced up with your highest good and with highest good for yourself and for your children, right? Because we all deserve this. We all deserve the very best. Okay, that's it for today. I'll see you again next week. If you have any topics that you want me to cover in these weekly lives, please do reach out to me, and just know that I'm sending all the best. Lots of love and support to you and your family, and that I believe in you and I believe in us. And I'll see you next time.